And welcome another edition of the CorVive Coaches Corner. Each and every Thursday, try to spend some time with college coaches, all levels, all divisions, and add some insight for families, student athletes, as well as coaches at the youth and high school level. Today, we are going to be talking with a recruiting coordinator, former head coach at a Division I school, worked as a within the college coaching community for several years now, but also most importantly was a former All-American caliber student athlete at the University of Miami. We are talking with the recruiting coordinator, assistant coach, Stetson University, Greg Lovelady. And Greg, I want to say thank you. We're in season, and I do appreciate your time.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Excited to be able to talk recruiting and talk baseball, talk Stetson. So I really do appreciate you having me on.
You know, one of the often not really focal points of college discussion is the beauty of the campus. What makes the college campus such a a vibrant piece of a potential student athlete's 4 or 5 years within the college community? I'd like to start with Stetson, DeLand, Florida. For us living in the Northeast with the horrific cold spring, DeLand, Florida sounds extremely appealing. But what makes Stetson a unique opportunity for a potential college student as well as a student athlete?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a bunch of different reasons. Obviously, one, being in the state of Florida and the weather, it's really hard to beat it anywhere. And so we're very, very lucky with that. But I think we get a mixture of both. We're in a small town. DeLand is a small town. And so you kind of get that small town feel where everyone in town knows who our players are, us being really one of the biggest sports on campus and really being one of the focal points of our university. We have a great following, people that have been in this area that have been, baseball fans of Stetson for 30, 40 years, that come to all the games, that live here in DeLand. But we're also 35 minutes from downtown Orlando, and we're 15, 20 minutes from New Smyrna and Daytona Beach. So you're right there and smack in the middle of things that are able to do really to enjoy your time in college. And so just having that access, not only to a great university in a great town, but then having access to obviously a major metropolitan area in Orlando where it's not a 2-hour drive, but also having access to the beach, which that's never a bad thing, right? And so, but we have this beautiful, gorgeous campus. I mean, small private school, so it's not very big, but just gorgeous palm trees and just the huge oaks, and driving through the center of campus is a canopy of trees. I mean, it's on the Florida Scenic Highway. If everyone has ever watched The Water Boy, that movie was filmed here, so you can kind of get a glimpse of what campus looks like. But it's just one of the top 5 most gorgeous campuses in the South, and obviously in a great location that just makes it an enjoyable experience and something that you get that small town feel where the kids really are an important part of the community, but also getting to experience all that Florida has to offer in terms of the beaches and big cities.
One of the dynamics that's I feel tremendously overlooked. We spend so much time, or most families spend so much time focused on a Power Four or some of these larger conferences. But at the end of the day, in today's world, as we're speaking in 2026, the playing field has been leveled to the point where there really is no such thing, in my opinion, at the Division I level as a mid-major. But I would love for you to talk a little bit, having spent your time at schools such as Wright State in Central Florida, ASUN, as a conference. Talk a little bit about some of the schools that you face in conference and the strength of the conference, but also because of your proximity, your out of conference schedule is very appealing with regard to being able to be fully prepared for a regional or potentially super regional during the months of May and June.
Yeah, and I think we've shown it over the past. In 2018, we hosted a regional and a super regional, and we're able to have a great years. The last 2 years, we've been to regionals and beaten, 2 Power Four teams in the regional, and been able to win games. So I think the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. And so, but the ability, one, to play in our conference with teams like Florida Gulf Coast, Jacksonville, North Florida, Austin P, and those programs have proven over the last 15 years to be not only teams that you have to really be prepared for, but that have had success at the higher level in terms against Power Four teams. Jacksonville just beat Florida this week. Obviously our schedule, we try to challenge ourselves in the preseason every year. I mean, last year we flew out to BYU. This year we went to Arkansas and we took 2 out of 4 from them. We beat Virginia, who's top 10 in the country at the time. And then obviously our midweek games, we're playing all the Florida teams. And so you're playing Miami, Florida, Florida State, South Florida. And so you're really getting challenged almost every game, whether it's in conference or out of conference. Went down to Puerto Rico last year and played, some Big Ten teams. We played Minnesota this year. So, I mean, we really try to challenge ourselves. It's also fun. I mean, you want to be in those battles with really, really good programs and great teams. And obviously it helps with our crowd. We have such a beautiful facility. And so when we sold out against Florida and Florida State this year, over 4,000 people. So, I mean, you're putting the schedule together for multiple reasons, but obviously this day and age, I mean, there's just so much parity, and it's getting more parity and more parity, I think, as the rosters really start to shrink, and I think in the next 3 years you're going to see it. But I mean, you go back all the way to even when I played in the early 2000s, like you started seeing mid majors every single year making runs, whether it was to super regionals or into Omaha. Whether it's Fresno States or Coastals or, Murray States. I mean, I think almost every year you feel like you have somebody in a regional or super regional that come from the mid-major programs. And I think that's just going to continue to be like that as the minor leagues continue to shrink, as the rosters, the shrinking of the rosters now is going to start really taking effect just from a standpoint of the trickle down. And I think you're going to see a lot more of it. And I think that the way that we've done things we've getting guys drafted and playing in regionals and super regionals. Like, I think you're just seeing it more and more across the country of teams just like Stetson that are having a lot of success.
Now, your time as a head coach, Central Florida, the caliber of player that you were as a student athlete at Miami really offers a unique insight from a recruiting coordinator perspective. And so what I would love to get your insights on is we're entering a new world. You've coached and helped develop over 55 draft selections in the MLB draft, and you've seen talent. How is that now working with the changes with the 5-and-5 that we're talking about, the portal, obviously? Can you help shed some light for families and student athletes as to how to help better prepare for the college recruiting process as we know it today in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for the last class or two and the next few classes, because I think they've been bred and taught about what the process was going to be like, and it's kind of been flipped upside down. Whether it's good or bad, I know. I think it's really hard to say. I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think change is really difficult to handle, especially when you've been preparing and seeing whether it's older brothers or people in your community go through a process of, they were committing as 8th and 9th graders just several years ago. And now all of a sudden it was okay, you were going to be prepared to do that. And then all of a sudden the rules changed. And then it was now you're dealing with the transfer portal, and it's hey, I'm going to go somewhere. And now you're seeing that the percentages of kids that are going to multiple Division I schools is through the roof, and where almost 75% of kids are not going to the university that they thought they were going to go to in terms of 4 years and getting their degree from that university. So, I mean, so much has changed where, in 3 or 4 years, it's going to be more the norm, I think. And the rules of, everyone will have been, posturing really for that instead of what they thought they were posturing for. And then it just got flipped upside down. So you kind of feel bad for those kids just because they weren't prepared mentally, I think, for it all. And nowadays, I mean, I just think that the time is slowed down, in terms of the recruiting. I think, again, went from 8th and 9th graders to, as soon as the summer after your sophomore year, that was going to be it. And now you just see there are some kids that, yes, they're getting offers and whatnot on August 1st, and they're committing, in August and September when recruiting opens up. But I do think that there's a lot more players that are still going to be available that are really good that, yeah, 5 years ago they were committing as ninth or 10th graders, and now they're just having to wait a little bit longer, which is tough. I understand that. As kids, they want to have a plan. They want to be able to know what's going on. And I think comparison, right, is the biggest issue right now with social media and being able to say, well, this kid is doing this and this kid is doing that. Why is that not happening to me? And I think the biggest message is that everybody's timeline is different. Everybody's story is different. Everybody's path is different. And there's just not one way. And I think that a lot of people have kind of been bought into and sold this bag that that's the path. And just if you just go and look at it now, like all these top draft picks, everybody has their own different path. Best college players in college baseball have different paths. And you just have to be able to be patient and understand what are you looking for, and do a lot of research. I think that's the biggest thing, is knowing, like, if you want to go play somewhere, like what are the things that are important to you, and finding the schools that can match the things that are important to you. And but the timeline just is slowed down drastically. And I think that a lot of schools, even now, like my 27 class, like I'm not done with it. And so those guys that are about to start their summer before their senior year, like there's going to be plenty of opportunities, I think. I mean, I've been recruiting 2026 grads that are seniors that don't have places to play yet, or that, we're going to go to a junior college or whatnot, but are still keeping the doors open for Division I programs. Like there's been several of those guys, and obviously there's a lot of change that's happening right now. This is the time of year where you got kids that think they're going to one school and, have signed NLIs and stuff. And now all of a sudden there's no room for them, and they're reopening, or for whatever reason, whether it's their decision, someone else's, the coach's decision is irrelevant. I just know that they're available, and those guys are back in the mix. But again, there's also guys that don't have places to play that are still being recruited. So again, I don't think there's one way. There's not one plan. There's not one path, and you just have to be open and try to figure it out, and be patient, and find a place that really wants you, and a place that you feel like you can get developed, and a place that you can play, and a place that can really help you.
One of the interesting components that I find, a unique and kind of interesting perspective is you are an extremely talented student athlete. So you have an understanding of the mental component of the sport, which I think is an underdiscussed topic with regard to development, as far as preparing to become a college student athlete. Wondering, like at Stetson, is there a process that you help integrate those younger athletes from a workload on a mental capacity? Do you have anyone that works with the athletes making that transition from high school and into college? And also, what type of support mechanisms does maybe Stetson offer within the coaching staff or ancillary staff members that helps athletes kind of really make that progression mentally towards the college game?
I think there's a lot of prongs to that. I think one, building the relationship with the players before they get here, trying to get them to understand what the expectations are going to be, even in the recruiting process. This is what our expectations are. This is the things this is how we do our business. But also, again, you're just trying to build relationships with kids, keep in contact with them, trying to understand what their process is like now as seniors in high school, or whatever the case is, and getting them to understand, okay, like you need to add this, or you need to bring this to the table, because that's the kind of things that we're doing. And the more that you can act like a college student, or do the things that you're going to be expected to do when you get here, then there's going to be less of a transition in terms of whether that's physically, mentally, just in terms of the workload, all those different types of things. So you're trying to talk them through that before they even get here. And then obviously when they get here, like, and in the summer before, again, you're trying to get them to do those types of things, whether it's bringing them in early, or just trying to get them with people that are similar minded, whether it's like a strength coach in their hometown, or whether it's playing, in some of these college leagues that are allowing incoming freshmen to play, to try to get them used to playing against that level of competition, or being in the weight room that much, or lifting the way that we're going to lift. Like some of those things in the summer, like I think are huge. And then obviously when they get here, like there just has to be a lot of communication and a lot of help. And I think obviously that starts with us as coaching staff and just trying to walk them through, trying to meet with the players, just have like real conversations with them and how they're doing and, what are they doing? What kind of decisions are they making from a time management standpoint to, being living on their own for the first time, like what are those kind of decisions that they're making off the field, on the field. You're trying to just kind of walk them through and again, just trying to help them as much as you possibly can, but having open communication and really discussing those types of things, I think is a big part of it. You also have to have great leadership on your team. Like what are the older guys teaching the younger guys? Like are they helping them? And I think that then you have to again foster the relationship with the older guys and set forth expectations of here, it's not just about you, it's about us as a group. And what are you doing? I'm a big legacy guy, and what legacy you're leaving to the program. And part of that can be, we might not win a national championship this year, but if in 3 years the things that you instilled in a freshman, right, and the things that you taught them, the things that you made sure that they weren't doing, or you were correcting them, leaving whether it's your work ethic into them, and those guys end up winning a championship, right, in 3 years. You're going to be part of that because of the legacy that you left in those guys as freshmen, that they took that and then built off of that. And that if you weren't part of their lives and you didn't set them on the right path, that they wouldn't have been as successful in their junior year than they were because that you were here as a senior when they were freshmen. And so I think you have to meet with the older guys and make sure that they're welcoming those guys, that they're taking them under their wing, that they're teaching them the right and wrong ways of how not only to do things at this level, but then how do we do things at this level, and what is Stetson all about, and what are our expectations and the demands that we put on the kids. And so and then obviously you have the help from the administration in terms of having sports psychologists and mental health and ability to be able to have a safe place for them to be able to go if they need it, and making sure that they understand that one, it's offered, two, that it's the old school method of probably when you and I were growing up, that was probably something that was frowned upon. Like don't be soft. And this day and age, like it's just different now. A lot of that is our faults, right? Probably as we got going and having kids, and I'm just as big as an issue as any other parent of looking back and probably saying that I have two boys and I probably haven't raised them as tough as my dad raised me, right? And that's just kind of the way of the world it is now. I think that's the probably the bigger problem, right? But like we have to let them understand that this is okay, and that going to talk to somebody is not a problem. Like that's something that you need to take advantage of. And some guys want it, some guys don't. Some guys you need to push them to it. But so I think again, when you talk about those prongs of us being involved, the players being involved, and then obviously having sports psychologists and mental health experts that are available, and making sure that the kids understand those things. I think that's all part of the process of transforming from a high school player to a college student athlete.
One of the topics that you just touched on there, legacy, that's a big deal to me. As a former college coach, I used to always try to impress upon my older athletes, my upperclassmen, leave the program in a better place than what it was when you entered. And also to the younger athletes, you want to be part of establishing something that is at least trending towards greatness. Like don't aspire to be average, but let's work towards greatness. And so in today's world, we often don't talk about that 4 now, potentially 5 years of being a college student, a college student athlete is really a significant foundation piece to adulthood. How do you kind of get those younger athletes coming now that, sometimes have this flight mentality of the bigger, nest or the bigger opportunities. But in reality, Stetson's baseball past, as well as its current baseball future, is extremely strong. It's an elite college baseball program. How do you, when you approach your recruits, get them to understand, hey, we're coming and we're looking to build this into a national established Omaha caliber program? Is that something that you're looking at in your potential recruits? And how do you get your younger athletes to understand, hey, this is a big traditional program and you want to be a part of this for 4 or 5 years?
Yeah. I think one, you have to teach them about that, right? In the recruiting process of understanding like what the expectations are and like what has happened in the past and how we want to build off of that and continue to that. And then two, obviously when they're here, I mean, one, it needs to come from us a lot, just talking about legacy and talking about the future and talking about how much the program means to people, right? But then also having guys back. I mean, Jacob deGrom is here throwing bullpens all of January, and having somebody of that stature being around like is a big deal. And Logan Gilbert came and threw bullpens, and guys like Corey Kluber, and then Isaiah Barquette and Lorenzo Miola who were here last year and drafted. Like having those guys work out here, I think to me is a big part of it, because I feel like you're seeing where the kids want to go, and these are guys that have gone through their shoes, and but they're also coming back and being able to impart wisdom onto the players. But I'll be honest, like I grew up a diehard University of Miami fan, like grew up at the field. And my hero is Charles Johnson, one of the greatest catchers in the history of the game. I never felt more pressure at the University of Miami than I did when he was at the field, like whether it was practice, whether it was at the games, because I wanted him to walk away. Sorry, my light just.
That's okay.
Technology, man.
Yeah.
Technology. I didn't want him to walk away from practice or a game and be like, man, like the catching situation has gone downhill since I left. You know what I mean? Like I felt like I had a legacy to live up to from him that he set at the University of Miami. And it meant a lot to me that I just wasn't dragging that down and embarrassing him or the program and really the catching position. And so, but him being around and coming and talk to the team, and obviously me growing up watching him and seeing him and watching him in the big leagues, it was just the way that I was able to learn about all that. But I tried to emulate him in everything that I did, right? And so how do you do that? Well, you got to have those types of guys around. You got to tell those stories. Again, when deGrom's here, the whole pitching staff goes out and watches him throw bullpens, right? Like, and then all of a sudden, like you're out there and he's chit-chatting with guys and imparting wisdom of like, hey, like what people are asking him questions, and he's so amazing at just being able to hang out with the players and just answer the questions and just talk pitching. Like it's not like the kids are like sitting there wanting autographs. Like they just want to be around and see if they can just gain something from that guy because he's so good, right? And same thing with Gilbert. Like he's out here and the whole team is in the bull, and he's throwing on the game mound just so he could get on the TrackMan, the main TrackMan and not the portable one, and everyone's in the dugout watching him, right? And then coming out and he coach brings him over and he gets to talk to the team for 5 minutes. Like somebody's going to learn something from a guy like that. And so the more you can have and again, it doesn't have to be big leaguers. In my past as a head coach, like I love just bringing back anyone. I don't care if it was a doctor or a lawyer, but people that cared about the program and are following the program. And I want them just to impart that about their process, their path. But also like, hey man, like just knowing that, those guys are saying, hey man, we watch every game. We follow every game online or on the internet, or watch every game through TV. Me and 6 of my buddies in our group chat. Like you want the guys to understand, the players to understand, like, hey man, there's people that have come before you that like you owe it to them to put forth a great effort. Like it's not just about you. And when you build a program, like that's really what is understanding is that this is all of us. Like the 2016 is just as invested as the 1996 team or the 2001 team. And you're trying to understand that this is our program. It's not the head coach's program. It's not the coach's program. Like it's all the people that have been here, and really all the players. And we have to understand that there's people that have expectations for us, and people that have come before us that, 20 years ago, Stetson we didn't have the great stadium that we have now. We didn't have all the gear that we have now. And you have to be grateful because those people are the reason why you have what you have now. Like this team, like that we have right here at Stetson, doesn't deserve anything that we're getting. We're getting it all because somebody else went to a regional and to a super regional without what we had, and the program got rewarded for it. And those guys graduate and leave, and we get to reap the benefits. And so I think it's our job then to give back to those guys of saying like our thanks to them of hey, thanks for all the great stuff that we get because of you, is to make sure that we go out and put something good, a product on the field, and continue the tradition of winning. And so I think, but that takes talking and education and again having people come back and having those pro guys around the field. Like all of that I think is important of being able to leave your legacy and continue to grow the program. And just like you said, I mean, that's a big thing that we talk about is leave this program better than when you got it. And how do you do that? It's coming out every single day and finding a way to get better.
I'm going to digress quickly because it's not often I get to talk to a fellow catcher. I was a catcher for 27 years. And in today's world, I think not all, but a lot of younger catchers are becoming kind of video game-esque, meaning they get an earpiece in their ear. The coach, the dugout is sending in a pitch, a location. And there's a lot of aspects of catching or the craft of catching that are kind of going undeveloped at the younger ages, the summer and high school ball.
Yeah.
I would love to talk a little bit, just quickly adding your viewpoints on the craft of catching, meaning the receiving of the ball, the how to tunnel and sequence and convey that to the catcher through energy, obviously verbal cues, but energy behind the plate, being assertive, being a leader, reading feet, reading hands, and while the at bat is ongoing. Can you just talk a little bit about, catching offers young athletes an opportunity to get between the lines. And if you're an athlete at younger ages, infielder, maybe an outfielder, and things aren't kind of going in the direction, kind of study those things to make a catcher elite. Posada, Russell Martin, Biggio, these are athletes that were infielders and outfielders. Talk a little bit now when you're recruiting catchers. What are some things that you would offer as advice to those younger catchers or people thinking of becoming catchers that might help them capture your attention?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, athleticism is a big part of what I'm looking for. I like guys that are mobile back there. Sean Murphy, the Braves Gold Glover, is one of my guys, and he was an interesting case because he was so little growing up, and then had a growth spurt, senior year in high school, and then his first year at Wright State, where he was able to keep that kind of athleticism and shiftiness of a 5'9", 145-pound junior into a 6'3", 225-pound, 24-year-old man. And so I do love athletes back there. I just think it's a position that, if you really want to be able to block balls, and again, it's tough to compare. I think we watch so many big league catchers, where a lot of the pitchers' misses are just not nearly as bad as when they get to college, and then as when they get to high school. Like you have to be able to be shifty back there and block balls that are 6 feet out of your center radius. Do you see that a lot in the big leagues? No. And so it's hard to mimic like exactly what's going on at that level because you just have pitchers that are just elite at throwing the ball where they want to. And so as you get, to me, finding athletes is going to be able to just allow you to do more things back there. Now you see, there's Patrick Bailey throwing the ball sidearm down to second base. You know what I mean? Like those kind of things, like to me, are just, you can't duplicate that, and it just makes you more athletic. It makes you a better catcher. It just makes you be able to do more things behind the plate. But leadership is probably the number one thing that I look for from a catcher. And are you loud? Are you directing traffic? Like, you don't see a quarterback that just gets up to the huddle and doesn't say anything and just hikes the ball. Like he's got to know where everybody's supposed to be. He's trying to direct traffic. He's trying to make sure people are doing what they're doing. He's trying to motivate the offensive line. He's calling out different types of coverages and things like that. That's the same thing that a catcher needs to do. Like you have to be able to build relationships with the pitching staff, just like a quarterback has to build relationships with wide receivers in terms of timing and things like that. Like you got to know what makes the pitcher tick, but you got to be able to know, like, can you go out there and do a visit and turn around your skull cap and headbutt him between the eyes, right? Or do you have to go up there and pat him on the butt and tell him, hey man, you're doing a great job, like, and there's just different ways to handle those types of people. But making sure guys are in on bunts and where they're supposed to be and know where everybody has to be on every defense to make sure that, as much as we're trying to pay attention in the dugout, like you're just another coach on the field, another set of eyes to make sure that, hey, like, why is the second baseman covering in a sack bunt situation when he needs to cover first base? Like those kind of situations, like you have to be able to see and be able to direct. And but the leadership and telling everybody where to go. Like, communication to me is just huge, and being able to, whether that's through telling the pitcher to get the ball down without having to go out and tell him to get the ball down, and giving him visual cues and physical cues and verbal cues, like all that stuff is huge. And dealing with the umpire and how to talk to the umpire, like there's so much that goes into our position, that going out and seeing a guy that has a grasp of that, like, at a lower level and the high school level and in the summer ball, like, then I know that there's a chance. If you got to start from scratch, it's just a lot to learn and a lot to grasp. But if they've kind of understood that and been taught that, or just pay attention and do research and watch videos and just watch big leaguers, like, which again, it goes back to a little bit of a problem that, how much baseball do high school players watch nowadays, right? Like, I don't know if it's as much as we did. And for all obvious reasons, like we didn't have phones to be glued to, or whatever the case is. Like, what did you do when you came home from school? I watched the Cubs and the Braves play on WGN and TBS because I had nothing else I could do, right? And so again, I understand the difference, but trying to watch more baseball, see how catchers react, how they handle themselves, the intricacies of the game. Like, that's a big part of recruiting, is trying to find guys that have some kind of grasp on that, so that I know that they're going to be able to do it at our level.
I always tell catchers, especially young catchers, there's 2 handshakes you always want to make sure you do: before the game and after the game. Let the umpire know, I'm going to be protecting you, and my name is Walter, and thank you. Have a great day. Those 2 things, Matt, make a big difference. Final question, Greg, and I really want parents to know, how do you prefer to be contacted, not only as an individual coach, but how does the program like to be kind of contacted by a potential student athlete? I know you want to hear directly from the student athlete. They're the ones that are being recruited and potentially playing at Stetson. Is it direct messages? Is it social media? Is it a transcript and a video and an email? How would you like to be contacted by a potential student athlete?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of different ways. Obviously, not hearing from the parents is the number one thing. I do not want to deal with them. I want the kids to be able to get out there, and obviously something that's personal. I think, and I know the ease of putting out a mass email or a mass DM or whatever the case is surely probably a lot easier. But obviously, it just kind of, I think we can kind of see through all that and kind of understand that if it's something that's a mass thing or something that's actually, hey, I'm really interested in Stetson. But I think all of the above. I mean, I think email or DM with, obviously just being able to go on Twitter and being able to follow a kid and see all the videos that are on there about him that he's retweeted about himself, or just seeing stuff that other, like, recruiting services have put out there, or whatever the case is just being able to have that accessibility. So just, again, if whether it's a DM, it's obviously easier. If it's an email, just making sure that there's somewhere that I can find video, and then having some kind of references. Just your travel ball coaches and your high school coaches, and being able to talk to those guys and get comparisons to other guys that they've coached and things like that. So having those phone numbers or emails or whatnot that I can get to, but email, DMs, those are all great ways to connect, and just giving me as much information as I possibly can. Just about where you play, who you play for, and then again having the access to videos, whether it's linked through YouTube, or whether it's linked to your X page or Twitter page, like whatever the case is. Like, as long as I can get access to it and I don't have to spend 35 minutes like searching like for it, you know what I mean? Like getting a player's name and then having to go and try to find him on Twitter and then try, like, if it's accessible right there in an email or through a DM, like, it just saves me a lot of time, and my time is very valuable, and there's a lot of people reaching out to me, and then obviously our current team that you're talking about, and plus our families, right? Like, so the most information and accessibility that you can give to me saved me a lot of time and makes it a lot more easier or desirable to go research a kid.
Well, Greg, I want to say thank you and best of luck, not only with the remaining portion of your season, but the ASUN championships, as well as regional and hopefully super regional, ending in a big city in the middle of the country that begins with O. I really want to let parents understand that Stetson University, not only a tremendous athletic opportunity, but one of the best private school educations that you can obtain in the country. I would strongly suggest that you put Stetson University into your mix understand where it's located, what the academic strengths are. And Greg, best of luck the rest of the way throughout the calendar year in 2026 and beyond.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you having me.
Athletes, electrolytes matter, but you got to choose the right electrolytes. If you look at the sugars, 34 grams, the dyes, all the things that's not good for you in this product, this is a hype product. If you look here at the electrolytes made by CorVive, it's got the right amount of magnesium, sodium, potassium, zinc, kosher salt. It's got vitamin C to help with the immune system. I'm telling you, if you want to stay on the field, you want to perform at your best, you want to recover well, this is the product that you need to choose to fuel your body as an athlete.